All right. Good evening again. All right. So today we are really talking about why you are struggling getting started or even remaining consistent. And I'm really taking virtually all of this information from a really great book that I recommend. And it is called Changing for Good by James Prochaska, John Norcross, Carlo Di Clemente, all PhDs. And I really, really love this book. It was one of the books I read as when I study for life coaching. This book was pretty revolutionary for me, and I hope that you will check it out after hearing this live broadcast. So if you're on, can you say hello? Even if you're watching in replay, I really love to see who's on. It makes me feel a little less lonely. So the thing about me is the reason why this book stood out so much was because I was on a vicious cycle of fad dieting for about 20 years. I was more excited to research weight loss than actually making any measurable, thank you for the like, making any measurable progress toward change. I was always buying the latest food trend that promised health or weight loss, and months later, maybe I tried it once, maybe twice, if it was, a big thing. But generally, I hardly got use out of it. I would end up just throwing it out. And what I know for sure in retrospect is that I was really overloaded with information. I simply was not ready to actually make change. And so it sort of caused me to jump from one fad diet to the other. And it was frustrating and depressing and embarrassing, and I just was super down on myself. I just could not understand why other people could make change in their life and lose weight and get to goal, and somehow that just eluded me. And I was just on this like diet merry-go-round. That's why I always use that phrase, because I was just getting on and off the merry-go-round and really just getting nowhere. So long and the short of it is through life coaching, I picked up this book, and it really, really helped me to be a lot more insightful about what was really going on back then and why other people might be struggling to keep up. So I have a lot of notes here, so I just want to give you the heads up, because this is going to be maybe a little longer live, so there'll be some opportunities for you to participate if you choose. I would love to hear, what do you struggle with? Even if you're watching on replay, are there specific things that you struggle with? And do you relate to having difficulty staying consistent and even just getting started on a weight loss or a health plan? So tonight overall, I'm going to be talking about the 2 C's to get you unstuck and help you move into action. The first is commitment, and the second is consistency. So commitment tonight is part 1. Consistency will be tomorrow night, and I'll let you know what time. So, okay. So what I'm going to cover tonight in order to help you to understand your readiness for change is called the stages of change. And it's the material, the copywritten material that you will find in the Changing for Good book. But of course, it's way more detailed in the book. But I'm going to give you the summary for the purposes of this live video. So the first stage of change is pre-contemplation. You're like playing the blame game. You want others to change. You're not truly taking ownership for where you're at. You have a denial of the problem. You're sort of justifying your behavior. It's a safe place. failure is not an option when you're not doing anything. And they view their situation as just fate. So here's an example. Let's say you have type 2 diabetes and you've been eating sweets and breads and pastas, overdoing it perhaps, your whole life. And you're becoming a little defensive because maybe people are saying something to you, maybe the doctor has said something to you, but you find yourself saying, well, it's beyond my control. I'm hooked on food and there's just nothing I can do about it. Or, hey, I'm, 50 years old and it's too late for me to learn something new. So that would be the stage of pre-contemplation. And actually, Jim Prochaska makes a really great quote in the book that I'll read to you. Life only passes you by when you give up on your abilities to change. And it's very true. So that's sort of the beginning of the stages of change. You might notice people might be giving you a hard time, but you're really kind of in denial, and you yourself don't feel that change is necessary, or maybe that change is possible, or maybe you just feel like you cannot do it. Okay. 3 questions you can ask yourself if you feel like you might be in the pre-contemplation stage. Are you well informed about your behavior? So in other words, are you ignoring reality? Do you discuss your behavior pattern, or are you defensive? Are you discussing it openly and sort of saying, yeah, I know I eat a lot of sweets and, I just don't feel like right now I can do anything? Or are you like, that's not true. I don't eat enough sweets. Or, hey, I can't do anything about it. I don't want to hear about it. I'm hooked on sugar. Are you willing to take responsibility for the consequences of your behavior? So are you comfortable with the repercussions? Is it risky? Or are you kind of uncomfortable with that? Like you just don't want to think about it. If you were comfortable, you'd say, you know what, whatever it is, if I die young or if I have to take a lot more insulin, then I will. I don't feel like I can do anything, honestly. Or you might be more defensive on that. So 3 questions you can ask yourself. So the first stage was pre-contemplation. The second stage is contemplation. Contemplation is about becoming aware, gaining a better understanding, or seriously considering change. In fact, you're eager to talk about it because you really want to be reassured that it can be solved. So perhaps you've gotten a doctor report, and so you feel like this is a safe place, and your doctor says, I know a lot of people who just cut back on their sugar, on their bread, the bread basket, on their carbs. And it really isn't that hard. It's very doable. And then all of a sudden you might get a little open, or the doctor tells you something scary. Hey, if you don't take care of this, this is going to happen. So that's the contemplation stage. Now, some negative responses to contemplation might be like the search for absolute certainty. So in other words, you need perfection, and you're going to just research it to death until you're absolutely sure that this can be solved and that you know exactly what to do. And you're almost like, it's sort of an avoidance tactic. And I want to hear, guys, if you recognize any of these stages, just write one word on the comment: pre-contemplation, action, whatever stage you're in. I'm going to go through all the stages tonight. So another negative response to contemplation is you're kind of waiting for the magic moment. And as a life coach specializing in weight loss and health, I hear this a lot. Hey, I'm going to start with you, but it's summer and I'm going to wait until the summer's over because I just want to have fun. Or it's the holidays, or it's my anniversary, it's my birthday. And honestly, there is no time like the present. If you're waiting for the magic moment, you may be waiting a long time. because it's always going to be something, always. So the third negative response to the contemplation stage is wishful thinking. This one is super common. It's easier to wish for change than to actually work for it. And you might be mourning. You might be having a little bit of a pity party. Why can all my friends eat all that cake and I have type 2 diabetes? Like, what the hell is going on? It's not fair. Okay, it's wishful thinking. It's a negative part of the contemplation stage, but it is a part of it. Even premature action is a part of the pre-contemplation stage. You're only at pre-contemplation, but maybe you feel threatened or shamed and you just jump right into action, but actually you're not ready. And you know what happens then? More than likely, you will fail. So you really want to focus on these stages of change, figure out where you're at and how you're going to move forward. And honestly, I really recommend this book. I think it's fantastic. So, okay, the next stage, so far we've done pre-contemplation, contemplation, and then preparation. Preparation is all about getting ready to make change. It takes you from decisions you've made in contemplation, specific steps you will do during the action phase. So now you're really planning out steps. You made the decision. You know you're planning out steps. It's the nitty-gritty plan of action. So it's not the plan of action yet, but it's the nitty-gritty of what you plan on doing. And you spend time contemplating what steps you need to take to move forward. Here is some advice. Make sure you are prepared. And I'm going to go through that in a minute. But also, spending time contemplating and figuring it out can be really, really essential to being prepared and visualizing how it's going to feel. And sort of getting psyched. I like that word, getting psyched. All right, so give me a like if you relate to this at all. So here are some helpful tips in the preparation phase. Look towards the future. So truly let go of old behavior. Old behavior is not productive. That's like being focused on your rear view mirror when you're driving the car and you're in drive, not reverse. You want to be in drive. You got to look what's ahead of you, not what's behind you. Let it go. Don't be mad at yourself. Don't be regretful. Don't be mournful. Just look forward. That is where productivity begins. Make change a priority. So you have to be very intentional. And my advice on this is to always keep it simple. Recognize that goal is a series of small steps. And if you can only handle 1 or 2 steps at a time, that's okay. That's exactly where you should be focused. So be intentional, make change a priority. Believe you can do it. You know, you are in control of your own behavior. No one else but you. Don't be in denial that you're hooked on this or hooked on that, or in fact, if your change is all about something you feel you are hooked on, reach out and get the proper help for that addiction. Accept that change is hard. And like I said before, really visualize, have a plan so you can avoid some of the anxiety. Change is uncomfortable and you have to be prepared for it. Take small steps and actually set a date. Go public. You can go public, or you can just get a partner that you're gonna, confide in and talk to them about it and try to let them know that you're doing this, and maybe there could be even a little bit of accountability there. And then, of course, get a plan of action and be as specific as possible. Okay, so we've got pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation. Now we're in action. And this is where the good stuff really starts. Action is not a spur of the moment decision. It's not I ate like a pig the night before at that party, and so this morning I'm going to go on a diet. That's not what it is. It is not spur of the moment. It's very planned out, and you have a starting date, as I mentioned before. Be prepared to make some sacrifices. I will say it again. Change, not for everybody, but for some people, can be very uncomfortable. And you have to be prepared. You have to find that mental strength. Reach out for the support that you need. Journal. Do whatever you need to, move forward. Get a life coach. Be accountable. Be accountable to a friend. Get beyond the myth of the magic bullet. There is no such thing as a magic bullet. No simple solutions. As I said, goal is a series of small steps and hard work, people. It takes work. So you have to accept that. Just like reaching any other goal. If you had a project at work, you would work hard to get that project done successfully. Find new methods. Find healthy substitutes for whatever it was that you were doing. I am in the crowd out philosophy. So I don't believe in taking out. I believe in crowding out. For some people, that works better. For some people, going cold turkey is much easier. For example, if you tend to overeat every night, and if this is you, type me in the comments. I want to know, what are your biggest issues that you struggle with? Keep it to 1 or 2 words. So let's just say you're trying to kind of curb the nighttime eating, and you've decided that instead of the cake that you're eating every night, you decided that like maybe a yogurt and some crushed nuts would be better. So you're going to crowd out that cake by first having as your evening snack some yogurt and nuts. And then 15 minutes later, if you truly feel hungry and you cannot get past it, maybe you would have a small piece of cake. Another example, let's say you want to become a vegan and you really love your protein, but your animal protein, but maybe it was a value that really led you to the conclusion that you prefer not to eat animal meat anymore. So instead of going cold turkey right away, if that does not feel right to you, a suggestion I would have is load half your plates with vegetables. Maybe a quarter of your plate with starch and a quarter of your plate with that animal protein, a much smaller portion than normal, and keep increasing the amounts of the stuff that lie within your new value system and decrease the animal protein. Okay, reward yourself. Like, why not? I mean, celebrate, but don't ever celebrate with the habit you are trying to break. Celebrate with other things you enjoy. Us women, we love manicure, pedicures. We love just time to ourselves, maybe an afternoon of reading a phenomenal book and letting yourself off the hook with other responsibilities. I've known people, and I've done this myself, they give themselves $1 for every day that they are on plan successfully, and they have very specific criteria of what on plan means. All right, so that's action. So do any of these steps resonate with you? If so, type in one of the steps you've heard so far. Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and now we're going to talk about maintenance and then recycling. So if one of these really resonate with you, type in that word now or on replay. All right, maintenance. It's all about recycling and learning from a relapse. And there are 10 lessons of relapse, which I'm going to cover tomorrow in our part 2 of this Changing for Good series. And we will also cover maintenance and recycling tomorrow night so that we really understand the 2 C's. Commitment and consistency is what we're really going to cover overall tomorrow. So I hope this was helpful, and I'm so glad that you joined me tonight, whether it was live or you watched on replay. Stay tuned to Go From Cravings to Control with Keto Living, and you will see the time for tomorrow's live video. That's it for tonight, guys. Please, please, please give me comments. I want to hear what your thoughts are on this subject matter. Our community begins in the comments. That's it for tonight, and I'll see you on the next video.